Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of Painting Flowers. So today I want to address painting a rosebud, because if you love roses, painting them can be quite a complicated task because of their petal structure. There's just way too many overlaps and sometimes it can be overwhelming and you just don't know where to start. So I just would recommend to start with a rosebud. So what you will need for that, obviously, depending on what you choose to draw with, I'm going to use the dip pen again. All the links will be provided below for your convenience. Today for the ink, I'm going for the Diamine Oxblood because it has a little bit more pinky red color to it, and because I'm going to paint a pink rosebud, I quite like the idea of this ink to begin with. So I will use Jackson's Quill brush 10-0. I am going to use the Stillman and Birn hardcover sketchbook. Again, I will leave all the info below. And finally, for the watercolors, I still have the same palette that I have used for the previous few tutorials. Now I'm just adding a couple of colors as I go, but I still like what I have here. So we're still obviously painting flowers, and foliage requires a lot of greens, etc. So for this tutorial I have added a little bit more of the Alizarin crimson, which I used in the previous tutorial, but I just wanted a little bit more of it and I wanted it fresh from the tube as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit more water to some of them. I'm not even doing a full spritz, I'm just going to do like a half one. So we need like a green that is similar to sap green. If you have a sap green of from any brand, you can just go to that convenience color. I have this one here, which is Apatite, green Apatite genuine, so it's a little bit of a complex green color. It has some browns and some kind of like grayish browns with super intense and super kind of bright, almost unnatural greens there, like neon greens kind of thing. And that's my closest color here to sap green, but I will add other colors to it. Also, the colors that I have here, I can mix up some of these greens with a couple of the oranges or yellows to create a similar color to sap green. And anyway, it's super fun to mix your own colors as it is. So even if you have sap green and you want to use it, just add a few other colors to the sap green to just change the tone a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to start by drawing out the rosebud. I am going to do a simple one, and it's just going to be one, but I will play with a little bit of overlapping, but it's not going to be as complicated. So let's just start by creating the outer part of it. So this is like the head of the bud, which I happen to find super pretty. So I personally find elongating and exaggerating lines rather attractive in flowers and leaves. So that's essentially what I'm doing right here. And I'm going to overlap a couple of them because that's where things start to get really interesting and beautiful. Like that. So I have overlapped 2 of the leaves and elongated them. So exaggeration is a good thing when it comes to painting these beauties. And then there's some details here which I can spot just on the edges of these beautiful kind of wispy little bits and pieces, so kind of separates a little bit. So we got that covered, and as you can see, that took us about a second. There's also some bits sticking out of here, and I quite like it because that creates a little bit of texture. And then to the main event, which is sitting inside, is the rosebud, kind of being protected by these green leaves. So what I will do is actually connect a couple of them like so. There's this other wispy bit, and then I'm going to create some of these wispy bits at the bottom of it. Now I'm looking at a photograph from, again, a botanical encyclopedia, but these bits here I'm just drawing from my own kind of imagination, because I really like these bits in the rose. I find them so attractive. And then over here I'm just going to draw out the stem. So that is about it for the drawing, but what I do need is just create a few petals of this beautiful rosebud that's sitting inside, and I will leave it at that. So there's no more need for any kind of big detail here, because I'm working with a water-soluble ink. So let's just go now into watercolor and have some fun with that. So I haven't even used up the ink from that one dip into the ink bottle. Alright, so what we're going to do next is I am going to probably start with the pink first, then I'll make sure I'll dry it, and then I'll go into the green, because you don't want the two colors to match. That's not going to be very attractive at all. So I'm just going to go into my Alizarin Crimson. It's such a stunning color. It's like my favorite pink color, and especially Daniel Smith color, watercolor. I love it. It's so juicy and gorgeous. So I'm going to start with the darkest part of the bud, and just edit quite careful and cautiously, and then with a clean brush I'm just touching it and pulling it out a little bit. And I don't want too much water into this, so I'm just going to soak that up. And you can see that's a really beautiful dark color. With what's left, I'm not touching this bit because it's all going to start merging. With this very pale pink, I am going to draw inside the line, again leaving a little bit of a gap and maybe just touching it right at the end here. As you can see, it starts flowing into there. And also working around this line here. So this is it. We have a nice variety of different pink colors, and for now I will leave it at that. And like I said, really important, I'm going to go ahead and dry it. Okay, now things are nice and dry, and I'm going to start mixing up some lovely juicy greens. It tends to be that the rosebuds have a brighter kind of juicier green than all the roses, so just keep that in mind. And I've got this perfect color for it, which is the gold green, and I may mix it up just a little bit with the genuine green genuine apatite, or green apatite genuine. And I'm going to start here. Now again, this ink is going to look lovely touching the green as well, because although it's a red ink, it's kind of like it's got this beautiful hue to it, and you can see how gorgeous the edging looks. So now I'm just pulling it out like so, and I'm going to, at this point, wash my brush, and then so you could see that I made a little mistake here, and so because it's water soluble ink, I just went with a bit of water, which created that beautiful little bit of a warm hue, and I just went over it and I basically erased the line. That was a mistake. So that's the good thing again, to another good reason why it's fun to work with water soluble inks and watercolor. I've been really enjoying it lately. It's like on a kick. So I'm just mixing up a slightly darker green, which I'll also do for here. It just creates more interest really that way. And then these bits I'll make this green as well. When you have a very small area like this, no matter what color you mix up, it won't be the same one because the ink is too close together, so you'll have more of the ink, if that makes sense. So be prepared for that. But I actually quite like it. I make it work for me. I think it's exciting because you don't know what's going to happen. So I'm going to go back into here and add a little bit of this green on top like that, because it started to be a little bit too dull in there. And then I'm going to go back into that mix and touch it in there and make it blend and merge, and I'm gonna make sure I leave a nice little highlight in that bud. And then back into this gorgeous sap green, again making sure I'm leaving lovely little highlights. And because I don't want it to be all one color, like a solid color, I'm going to make sure to mix up different tones. Let me know in the comment box, what is your favorite water soluble colored ink? Like, what colors do you like to use, or brands? I find it always really interesting. So at this point I kind of feel like I want something more interesting here, so I'm going to take that green apatite genuine to the side here and just add a little bit of that brown and kind of dot it in just a little bit here. See what happens. And just to connect that color, I'm also going to do it over there. I'm kind of now picking up a little bit and making this color move just a tiny little bit. And now for this color I might use this very last one that I just mixed up, leaving a little bit of a gap just there like so, and then just pull it through down like that. And then if I see that I need to add a little bit of color, I'm just going to literally dot it in like so, and a little bit of brown just to create a bit more texture and complicity into this, just a little like that. It'll dry into something pretty, trust me. Okay, so I quite like this. I feel like I want a little bit of that red, teensy little bit in here. That's it. Kind of have a triangle going on here, which I really like. Okay, so that is it for today, and I hope you enjoy this simple but fun little tutorial. You can see how this rose is kind of like almost alive and wanting to jump off the page, and that was simply by adding a little bit of that reddish brown, which is the, let's see, the transparent red oxide, kind of lifting everything a little bit. And that is it, really. Super fun and super easy. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. See you soon.